Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, as you know that we are carrying a series on microeconomics and so far we have conducted a numerous session under the series microeconomics. Dear friends, taking the series forward today we would be talking on economies and diseconomies of scale in the first session, whereas in the second session we would be discussing on producer equilibrium or optimum input combination. And for this very discussion we have once again with us in our studio Dr. Kamlesh Gakkar. Dr. Kamlesh Gakkar is professor in Institute of Management Studies and Research, Maharishi Dayanand University, Rohtak. Dear friends, Dr. Gakkar has immense knowledge, immense experience. Lots of students are pursuing their PhD under her able guidance, and she has written numerous articles in reputed journals both at national and international level. So dear friends, let's take advantages from her experiences and let's try to understand more about economies and diseconomies of scale in first session and producer equilibrium or optimum input combination in the second session. Hello ma'am, welcome to the EduSet lecture.
Thank you Geetika. Hello viewers. Today we are going to discuss about economies and diseconomies of scale. The large scale production throws many benefits to the firm that are called economies of scale. And these economies of scale can be of two types, internal or external economies of scale. Now, what are the internal economies? Internal economies are those which accrue to a firm when it increases its scale of production. These economies or these benefits are not due to any invention by the firm, rather they are due to the known methods of production which the small firm does not find it worthwhile to use. External economies are those which accrue to the firms because of increase in the scale of production of an industry. They are not monopolized by a single firm when it grows in size. Rather, these benefits accrue to a firm because of increase in the size or increase in the scale of production of other firms, or we can say whenever there is increase in the production of the industry as a whole, these benefits will accrue to all the firms without depending upon their individual outputs. So now we'll discuss these internal and external economies and diseconomies. Internal economies of scale can also be of two types, real internal economies and pecuniary internal economies. So what are real internal economies of scale? When there is expansion in the scale of production, the firm obtains some real economies. They accrue in the form of savings in the physical quantities of raw materials, labor, fixed and variable capital and other inputs. We can divide these real economies into 6 types. First are the production economies, selling or marketing economies, managerial economies, economies in transport and storage, financial economies and risk bearing economies. We will discuss them one by one. Now, what are the production economies? Whenever the scale of production expands, a number of economies accrue to the firm in the production process itself. Opportunities for various types of economies emerge in the workshop of the factory. When production is increased, there is a possibility of division of labor. We have already done what is division of labor and how it is advantageous. In this, we know that work is divided into a large number of parts and each part is done by a single individual or by a group of individuals. So this increases the efficiency of the workers. They take less time to produce a thing. Quality of the commodity also improves. So division of labor reduces the cost of production per unit. The capacity of the machines gets utilized due to large scale production. Machines have a large capacity when the firm is a small one, then the capacity remains underutilized. But when production is increased, the same capacity can be fully utilized, leading again to the fall in per unit cost of production. Then firms can discover new, better and less expensive techniques of production. When the firm is small, it has to depend upon others for various services. They have to depend upon technicians, they have to depend upon mechanics for the repair of machines, etc. But now, when the scale of production has increased, they can employ their own mechanics, their own technicians for this work and can reduce the per unit cost of production in that context also. And they can conduct research in their own lab to find out new ways of producing a thing or better or less expensive technique of production. There is use of the waste products also when the production is on a large scale. We know whenever some production is done, there are some waste materials also. When the production is of, you can say, smaller volume, this waste remains waste only and that cannot be utilized. But when the production is on a large scale and large amount of waste is there, that can be utilized to produce other products. So, byproducts are produced in large firms. Like in sugar factory, the syrup which is left is used for making liquor. Similarly, in the bangles factory, the broken bangles are used for making other glass articles. So, there is use of the waste products also. Then firms can also set up its own packaging department. You know, packaging is very essential for the products, and when the firm is a small one, it has to buy these packaging material from others like boxes, labels, etc., and a large amount of cost is incurred on this. But when the size of the firm is increased, scale of production is large, the firm can have its own packaging department, so that reduces the packaging cost per unit of output. So, these all production economies lead to reduction in the cost of per unit of output. Then we come to the selling or marketing economies. Production is done for the purpose of selling. So, every producer has to incur expenditure to make the goods available to the customers. When the scale of firm is small, even then the firm has to do advertisement expenditure, because we all know that competition is rising day by day and advertisement has become compulsory so as to increase the sales of the product. When the scale of output is large, the per unit expenditure on marketing of goods is decreased substantially due to a number of reasons. As the production rises, advertisement cost does not increase in the same proportion, that rises less than proportionately. Then the firm can economize on the expenditure on agents and salesmen. A large firm can have also contracts with wholesalers and distributors who are interested in the sale of the product. The selling and marketing economies also accrue to the firm whenever there is increase in the scale of production. Managerial economies are also there for large firms when they are increasing the production. Firstly, the benefits of specialization in the field of management can be obtained when the scale of operation is quite large. When the size of the firm is small, then we cannot have more managers. The functions of managing marketing, production, selling, transport, all the functions are performed by single individual. So, he cannot perform these so efficiently. But when the production is done on a large scale, the firm can employ different managers to do the different tasks like production manager, marketing manager, finance manager and so on. So they are professionals in their fields and they can do the work best, and this increases the quality of management as well as the quality of product. Then use of a number of machines for the purpose of management. The use of computer, telephone, fax, etc. can be made only by a sufficiently large firm. Small firms cannot afford to have these because the total cost incurred on these machines is greater than the production being done. Economies in transport and storage also accrue to a firm whenever its scale of production is increased. Small firms have to depend upon the public transport and therefore their per unit transport cost is higher. Transport cost is very essential. You have to bring raw material from one place to another, then finished goods have also to be transported from the place of production to the place of market where it can be supplied to the customers. So small firms have to incur a lot of expenditure on it, but these large firms can have their own trucks and lorries, and this reduces the per unit transport cost of the output also. And as the scale of production goes on rising, they can have bigger trucks and lorries to carry the product from one place to another, leading to fall in the per unit cost of output. Even railways give siding facilities to large producers, so loading cost per unit also decreases in case of large firms. Then larger the size of a warehouse, the larger are the economies accruing to the firm. When the production is done on a large scale, you need large warehouses, and the cost of construction of a large warehouse does not increase in the same proportion as the capacity of storing the product rises. These economies of transport and storage also tell us that the storage and transport cost are actually partly a part of the marketing cost and partly a part of the production cost. When we buy raw material and store them or transport them, they are a part of the production cost. But when they are to be forwarded for sale in the market in the form of finished products, then naturally it becomes a marketing cost. But for the sake of convenience, this type of the cost is taken separately and we take it as transport and storage cost. Then there are financial economies also which accrue to a firm whenever the scale of production rises. A bigger firm has many financial advantages. It has wider reputation among those who have money to lend or invest. It can borrow from bankers by providing better security and can raise capital more readily through the issue of shares and debentures than a smaller firm. People believe more in the bigger firms. If a bigger firm, like you can say if Reliance or you can say ICICI Bank, IDBI Bank, they issue their shares and debentures, people buy them because people have faith in them and they know they can sell these shares in the market because these shares are liked by, or all people like to invest in that. So the persons who are investing in them, they can realize their capital whenever they want and they don't have to face the difficulties which they will have to face if they buy the shares issued by some small firm. Risk bearing is also reduced, or you can say the larger firms can bear more risks. Risk bearing reduced means here that the risk is reduced, not bearing, rather they can bear more risks, but the risk per unit of output goes on declining. Larger firms are exposed to risks in a better and secure manner because they are more stable, and they do this by diversifying their output, by having more sources of raw material, by having more processes of manufacturing, and they can, you can say, they can face whatever catastrophe is there, while the small firms cannot face the sudden changes, they can't suffer the losses. So small firms give up the business, while the large firms can bear the risks and they remain in the business as a going concern. So this was about the real internal economies. Now we come to know what are the pecuniary internal economies. Pecuniary internal economies are in the form of money, how they are saving money on account of these. A large sized firm can pressurize the suppliers of raw materials to give specific concessions and discount. No raw material supplier usually ignores such requests of a large firms. We know that whenever we buy on a large scale, we get benefits, we have to pay less price. So large firms can get this benefit. Perfect competition generally does not prevail in the capital market. As the large companies have greater goodwill in the capital market, they are in a position to obtain loans on lower rate of interest from the banks and financial institutions. You know, banks have to give loans, financial institutions have also to give loans, and they like to give loans to these bigger firms and even at a low rate of interest. So bigger firms save on account of this also. If the cargo is substantially large, transport companies are also willing to provide discounts and concessions. This enables the large firm to obtain monetary economies in transport costs. Large firms attract discounts and concessions from the media for advertising their products. So they are getting benefits in the sale and purchase of all the things because they can sell on a large scale, they can buy on a large scale, so they get benefits in the form of money. When they have to pay less, and when they want to charge, they can charge more. So these benefits accrue when their scale of production rises. Now we'll see what are the internal diseconomies of scale. Actually, when the scale of production rises too much, all the internal economies convert into internal diseconomies. They are due to increase in the size of that firm alone. So what can be they? Limitations on the availability of factors of production. Whenever production is increased, we need the factors of production in more amount. So when the size of the firm is small, these factors can be met from the local sources. But when the production is increased, then there is a shortage of factors of production, shortage of labor, and that has to be transported from other regions. So they have to be paid more. So wages increase, and this increases the cost of production per unit. There are problems in management. You know, as the scale goes on rising, it becomes difficult to manage the whole affair, and the decision at the top level management sometimes become very difficult. The information which is very vital for decision making does not reach the top management in time. So this delays the decision making, and this delay leads to increase in the cost of production per unit. Then there are technical factors or technical diseconomies also accrue to the firm due to increase in the scale of production to a very large extent. The bigger machines now cannot be purchased at low cost, their price has also increased, they find it, and for having good production, the buildings should also be very safe, foundation should be very strong, so construction cost also increases. The buildings have to be equipped with cooler, ACs and other facilities. So this increases the cost of production. So all the types of dimension economies cannot be there. They can also be converted into diseconomies. Supposing a farmer increased the size of his plow by increasing the depth, length and height, but he could not know that now he would be requiring more number of horses and more people to drag that plow for using it. So this can be converted into diseconomies also. Then commercial diseconomies. Commercial diseconomies are like again that firstly when the size of the firm is rising, you could get the raw material at low cost, but now when the size has become too large, then you may find it difficult to get the proper raw material at low cost. You will have to pay high cost of that raw material, or that may not be of very good quality. So these type of the problems can also appear because of the, you can say, the optimum factor ratio is disturbed, or the optimum output, we are crossing that limit. Then financial diseconomies. When the size was rising, we could get financial economies, but now they convert into diseconomies. How? Now the firm finds it very difficult to issue new bonds and shares, or they have to pay a very high rate of interest for taking more loans. So the economies which were there, now they are converted into diseconomies of scale. And there is increase in risk also. Now the risk was earlier reduced by diversification, but the same diversification that goes on continuously, too many products, then there is a risk increase also. How to sell them, even advertisement cost rises, and there may be sudden changes in the policy, etc., etc. So there is risk also, and this leads to increase in the cost of production per unit. This was about the internal and internal economies and diseconomies of scale. Now we see what are the external economies. Actually, external economies are due to the increase in the size of the industry as a whole, and they accrue to all the firms. What are the external economies? Economies of concentration, which appear or accrue to all the firms when a large number of firms get concentrated in a area. All the firms get mutual benefit from each other. Common services like water, electricity, even telecommunications, post offices, banks are provided there, better roads are there, people start coming to that place, skilled persons are available in that area, or the factories or companies producing ancillary units also start there. So all these benefits accrue when there is a large number of firms in one place. Economies of information are there also. In a large industry, it becomes worthwhile to issue trade and technical publications to which everyone has access. Industry can publish the data regarding the trade, regarding the requirements, regarding the demand forecasting, and all the firms can together do the research in that area, and the results are published and they are beneficial to all the firms. Then there are economies of disintegration. This means that different firms can take different functions, they can produce different products so that they are producing the specialized products. This reduces the cost of production. But the same economies convert into diseconomies. How? You know that prices of factors of production may increase, wages increase, land cost rises in that area, transportation cost rises, and this leads to more congestion and pollution. You see, where there are more factories, more development of the industries, this has increased the pollution and ill effects are there on the people. Health hazards have come because of the increase in the size of the industries. In agriculture also, you see that if there is increase in the scale of production, it leads to the problem of soil erosion and reduces the fertility of the adjoining fields as well. So we find that there are internal and external economies as well as diseconomies. So the producers have to see to which extent they should increase the production so that they can prevent the diseconomies of scale, whether they are internal or external. Thank you. Dear students, in this session we will discuss about producer's equilibrium or optimal input combination. You know, the producer has to take a decision regarding what should be the input ratio so that he can maximize the output or he can minimize the cost of production. The aim of a producer is to maximize profits. So if outlay is given, he will maximize the output, and if output is already decided, he would like to minimize the cost of production. This producer's choice of a particular combination of inputs depends upon technical possibilities of production, and the second is the prices of inputs used for the production of a particular product. Now this optimum input combination can be decided, or the producer's equilibrium can be explained with the help of isoquants. So actually producer's equilibrium is that producer now does not want to change the output. If he changes the output, then either there would be loss in his profits or his losses would increase. So now we'll see how the equal product curves or isoquants tell us the producer's equilibrium. Isoquants are similar to the indifference curves of the theory of consumers' behavior. In consumers' behavior, we have studied the indifference curves, and isoquants have the same properties as the indifference curves. An isoquant curve is a curve that shows different combinations of two inputs which will produce the same level of output. In figure 1, we have shown the ISO product curve or isoquant IS1. On x-axis we have shown labor, on y-axis there is capital. All the combinations on IS1 give the same output. Whether we are at A or whether we are at B or any other point, output will remain same. As we move from A to B or from B to the other point to the right of IS1, what we find that labor is increased and capital is reduced. So that is actually the marginal rate of technical substitution of labor for capital. What is that? Marginal rate of technical substitution of x for y is the amount of y which is to be replaced by the x so that the output remains the same. Here the two factors are labor and capital. So capital is replaced by 1 unit of labor. So what is the amount of capital which is given up for 1 unit of labor? That tells us the marginal rate of substitution of labor for capital, and this goes on declining as we move from A to B or to any other point on the right side of isoquant, and this is also equal to the slope of isoquant. Now what is an isoquant map? A large number of isoquants represent an isoquant map. In figure 2, we have taken 4 isoquants, IS1, IS2, IS3 and IS4. Higher is the isoquant, higher is the output. Because we are using more labor and more capital, so the output goes on increasing, or you can say that IS4 will give us the highest output, IS1 is giving here the lowest output, IS2 is giving more output than IS1, and IS3 is showing more output as compared to IS2. Now for finding out the producer's equilibrium, we should know what is the ISO cost line. What is an ISO cost line? The ISO cost line shows different combinations of two factors which can be employed with the given outlay. Figure 3 shows this. With the given outlay, producer can purchase or employ OL units of labor and nothing of capital, or OK units of capital and nothing of labor. So if we join K and L, this is the ISO cost line. All the points on this line show the same total cost of production. As we move from K to L, you find that more labor is employed and less capital is employed. So different combinations are available on this line KL. Any line, any point or any combination below this line will show less outlay, and any combination above this line will show more outlay. Now how this line changes due to change in the price of labor or due to change in the price of capital? Because this ISO cost line depends upon the prices of factors as well as upon the given outlay. So naturally it will change if there is a change in the prices of factors or if there is change in the outlay. In this figure 4, we have shown what is the effect of change in price of labor. KL is the first ISO cost line where OK capital can be employed and OL labor can be employed with the given outlay. Now the price of the labor falls, then naturally the producer can employ more of labor. Now OL1 labor can be purchased with the same outlay. So the ISO cost line shifts from KL to KL1. And if the price of labor rises, now less labor OL2 can be employed with the same outlay. So this line is now KL2. So we see that as the price of labor falls, the line shifts to the right, but the axis Y point remains same because there is no change in the price of capital. Then what is the impact of change in price of capital? Now here in figure 5 we have shown what is the effect on ISO cost line due to change in price of capital. KL is the first ISO cost line. Price of capital falls, machines become cheaper, so producer can employ more machines. Now it is OK1 with the same outlay. So the KL line shifts to K1L. And if the price of capital rises, now he can buy less number of machines. Now it is OK2 and new ISO cost line is K2L. Now what is the change in ISO cost line due to change in the outlay? When there is change in outlay, then this line again shifts. KL is the first ISO cost line shown in figure 6. Given outlay rises, now the producer can spend more for the production of goods. Now naturally he can buy more of labor, that is OL1, and more of the capital OK1. So the ISO cost line shifts parallel and to the right when there is increase in the outlay. And if there is decrease in outlay, or if producer finds that now he can spend less on the production, then he can purchase less of the labor, that is OL2, or he can purchase less of the capital OK2. So the new ISO cost line is K2L2, which is parallel as well as to the left of the previous ISO cost line KL. Thus we find that with change in outlay, this ISO cost line changes. Now we should also know what is the slope of the ISO cost line. You can take any line. Supposing I am taking KL ISO cost line. So the slope of the price line is OK upon OL. OL is the number of laborers employed multiplied by the price of labor will tell us what is the total outlay. Similarly, OK is the number of units of capital and it is multiplied by price of capital. This gives us total outlay, which is the same. So we get OL into PL is equal to OK into PK. Now we want OK upon OL. This comes equal to PL upon PK. So we can say that slope of the ISO cost line is the ratio of price of labor and price of capital. That tells us the slope of ISO cost line. So when there is a change in outlay, there is no change in the slope of ISO cost line, but when there is change in the price of only one factor, then slope changes. Now we will see how the producer achieves equilibrium or how optimal input combination is achieved. So we have to take certain assumptions regarding equilibrium. They are: one is producer is rational. This implies that producer wants to get maximum of profits. prices of factors are given and constant. He knows what is the price of labor, what is the price of capital. Isoquant map showing the different isoquants is already given, and now we will see how the optimal input combination is achieved, or what are the two conditions of producer's equilibrium, or how the optimal input ratio will be chosen. There are two conditions of equilibrium. One is isocost line is the tangent line of isoquant. This implies that at the point of equilibrium, slope of isocost is equal to the slope of isoquant. We have seen that slope of isocost is equal to price of labor divided by price of capital, and slope of isoquant is marginal rate of technical substitution of labor for capital. Both should be equal at the point of equilibrium. Second condition of equilibrium is that at the point of equilibrium, isoquant must be convex to the origin, which implies that marginal rate of technical substitution of labor for capital must be declining. Now we will see how these two conditions are met. So in figure 7, we have taken labor on x-axis and capital on y-axis. KL is the isocost line. So that shows that all the combinations of labor and capital on this line can be used by the producer. And in isoquant map, we have shown three isoquants, IS1, IS2 and IS3. IS3 is showing the highest output. Producer wants to go on IS3, but he cannot go to this point. Why? Because this isoquant is above the isocost line KL. So he cannot go to IS3. So it is only the IS2 which is the highest isoquant to which the producer can go. So E is the point of equilibrium. Here you see that this KL, the isocost line, is the tangent line of isoquant IS2. Here slope of the price line is OK upon OL, and slope of the isoquant is also OK upon OL. So you can say the ratio of prices of labor and capital and the marginal rate of technical substitution of labor for capital is equal at point E. Now we can compare this with the other points R and S, which are on IS1. Now we take the point R. This combination can also be employed by the producer, but this R point is on IS1, that is lower than IS2. So why should he produce less when he can produce more? Moreover, at R, what do you see? That the slope of the price line and slope of isoquant are not equal. Slope of the isoquant is more than the slope of the isocost line. If you draw a tangent on this point R, you will find that the slope of isoquant at R is greater than OK upon OL. So, producer would like to move from R to E, or he will substitute labor for the capital and reach E where the output has increased. So, R cannot be the point of equilibrium. Here the isocost line is not the tangent line, it is cutting isoquant. Similarly, in the lower part we have this point S on IS1. Here again it is on a lower isoquant, and the two conditions, the first condition which we are doing is not met here. How? At IS1, now the slope of the price line is not again equal to the slope of isoquant. Here the slope of price line is greater than the slope of isoquant. If you draw a tangent at this point, you will find that slope of isoquant is less than OK upon OL. Thus you see that the first condition is met only at point E. At other points we don't find these conditions to be met, so they are not the equilibrium points, and producer is rational. He would not produce less when he can produce more. So, the optimal combination is at E. Now, what is the second condition? So, second condition says that isoquant must be convex to the origin at the point of equilibrium, or marginal rate of technical substitution of labor for capital must be declining. That producer is now willing to substitute the same labor by less and less amount of capital. In figure 8, we have shown this. Labor is on x-axis and capital is on the y-axis. Supposing IS1 is of this shape and E is the point of equilibrium according to the first condition, because here isocost line is the tangent line of isoquant. No doubt the first condition is met here, but this is E is not the equilibrium point, because here we find that isoquant is concave to the origin. That implies that marginal rate of substitution of labor for capital goes on increasing. This means that producer is willing to give up more and more of the capital for the same labor units. This cannot happen. We know that there is law of diminishing returns. As we go on applying more and more labor, its marginal productivity declines, and on the other hand use of capital is decreased, so the marginal productivity of capital rises. So it cannot be concave to the origin. So equilibrium will be at E1, where the new isoquant IS2 is higher than IS1, and here the isocost line is the tangent line of isoquant, as well as here it is convex to the origin, implying that marginal rate of technical substitution of labor for capital is declining. The reason being that the marginal productivity of labor goes on decreasing with the use of more and more labor. So we can say that equilibrium will be there only if both these conditions are met, that isocost line is the tangent line of isoquant, as well as isoquant is convex to the origin at the point of equilibrium, because this is the highest isoquant that can be achieved. IS1 was showing lower output as compared to IS2. So thus we have seen how the producer is at equilibrium, or how he gets the optimum input ratio which gives the maximum output when the outlay is given, when he has already taken the decision regarding the investment that he wants to invest, supposing 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs, then what should be the optimal input ratio so that the output is maximized, because this will give the maximum profits to the producer. Now we will see how the optimal input combination is chosen when the cost is given, when the output is given. In the earlier diagrams we have seen that cost was given and we had to increase the output, but now the producer has already taken a decision regarding the output. Supposing a person has taken the decision that he will produce 1000 units of output or 2000 or whatever may be the number that has already been decided. Now he has to decide that which combination of inputs should be chosen so that the cost is minimum, and this is shown in figure 9. Now here isoquant is IS1. This is only one isoquant, and you can assume that supposing this is 1000 units of output or 2000 or any number you can take, and the iso cost lines are 3: KL, K1 L1, K2 L2. Naturally KL line shows the lowest cost, K1 L1 shows the greater outlay as compared to KL, and K2 L2 shows the highest outlay or highest cost. Or you can take, supposing KL is representing the cost of 10 lakhs and K1 L1 is representing the cost of 15 lakhs and K2 L2 is representing the cost of 20 lakhs. Now isoquant is cutting and touching these lines at point R, E and S. Cost line KL is not having any touch or relationship with IS1 here, so this cannot be chosen. So this is ruled out. Now we have the two iso cost lines, K1 L1 and K2 L2. R and S combinations of labor and capital, they are on the highest cost line while the output is IS1. So why he should be on these points when the same output can be done by the combination E where the cost is less? And you see here where the cost is less, this iso cost line is again tangent to the isoquant curve, as well as isoquant curve is convex to the origin. At points R and S, these conditions are not met. Here the iso cost line is just cutting it. So you can say that even for minimizing the cost of production and for that purpose choosing the optimum input ratio again requires the same two conditions, that iso cost line is the tangent line of isoquant, and the second is isoquant must be convex to the origin at the point of equilibrium. So this way the producer can decide about the optimal input combination, whether he wants to maximize the output at the given outlay or he wants to minimize the cost when he has taken a decision regarding the output. So, this is of great help to the producers. Thank you.
With this notes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for giving us a very, very productive session once again. And dear friends, we believe that all the lectures which we conduct for you are beneficial for you. So, if you want to give your feedback for this particular lecture, then you can mail us at info.cec@nic.in. Dear friends, we love to solve your queries. So, keep watching us, keep giving your feedback, your questions. We would definitely answer your questions. So keep posting at us at info.cc@nic.in, and all the lectures pertaining to the series Microeconomics are already there for you on YouTube. Very soon we are going to upload this lecture on YouTube for you. For your convenience and for your accessibility. Dear friends, we would be meeting again tomorrow and we would be discussing another topic under the series Microeconomics. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much.